So in 2012, God surprised me in a morning devotion. Sometime it was in the fall. What I heard him say to me in my heart was just really one word. It was amazing. What that ended up turning into now is 12 consecutive years of God dropping something in my spirit for me to chase. And it was what he wanted to do. It was a directional word. It was a prophetic word for that coming year. Last year, it was rock solid. And frankly, I was a little disappointed at first because I know the parable pretty well, where Jesus is saying, listen, if you call me Lord, Lord, and you don't do what I say, I'm basically just a consultant. I'm not Lord. And he goes on to tell him, he says, if you listen to my words and you follow them, you do what I say, you're like a man who builds his house on a rock. What I discovered now when I look back over this year, I see that God has done some very foundational things within our body. So the first time in several years, we have a full staff. And I'm really excited to work with this staff. The heart and passion they have for the ministry areas is very exciting. We have a new elder model. Now we have our elders focused in on a particular pastor and ministry department where they're giving the kind of support and energy and prayer and covering to each of our pastors and that ministry area. Stuff that you don't readily see, but things that build foundation in our church. I've also seen the number of baptisms increase this past year. I've seen moms and dads sitting in that water saying, I made the decision to do this because I want to lead my family better. Then it got more exciting to me, just probably a month ago. And this is when God gave me a word for this coming year. And that word was more. And so I tracked down that more. It's like pulling a thread. The conversations and prayer with the Lord is as much, it's interaction. It's playing with one another in conversation. I'd even say it's dreaming together and not just us downloading something and uploading something from God. There is a collaborative work in prayer that's amazing. And I chased it down to Ephesians 3:20. Paul is praying for this young church. And he's coming near the end of this prayer, and he's talking about how he wants them strengthened in their faith and that they would understand down here, understand what it's like to be loved by God. And he calls it just this surpassing love of God at such a depth and width and all this that we can't even understand it. And then he finishes his prayer by addressing who we're praying to, a God who can do immeasurably more than all we think or imagine. Part of the drive around an annual fast is to ask God what needs to be gotten rid of. What new practices do I need to employ so that I can beseech God and I can hold the measurably more that he wants to pour out to us? Guys, that doesn't just happen. A spiritual life doesn't just get built on its own. God doesn't just do things without our desire. It's a partnership. And when he gets to see the desire and what we're willing to lay down in order to pick something up, it moves God. I don't want to sit back and wait for God to do more. I want to participate in this word. I want to move forward on whatever foundation I have built this last year. I want to move forward and I want to create the space necessary for God to do more. I'm already thinking about next year in December when I sit down and I reflect on what more God has brought to us as a body and God has brought to your family. There's more on the other corner of this year.